Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Line Zone. We're here at the Lion Cage Studio here at JSerra. The guest joined here today with me is
Larry Barron.
Ted Fuentes.
Larry, let me know a little bit more about yourself.
Well, first and foremost, I am going into my second season as the JSerra head coach for our hockey program, both varsity and JV. On top of that, a couple more hats that I wear, skating and skill development coach for the Anaheim Ducks of the National Hockey League, and also owner and director of Barron Hockey, which is a grassroots development program that just basically gives back and is getting our young, aspiring hockey players to the next level. And I'll stop right there.
Love to hear. Who else is here to join?
I help Larry and Terry and the team manage the media, both on social media and also distribution through other channels. So with that, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Matthew Fuentes, player for the JSerra hockey team, also attend JSerra Catholic High School.
All right.
And Ted, just before you move on, before I get myself in trouble with my wife, the biggest hat that I wear is I'm father of my lovely wife Michelle and my three kids, Dylan, who is 12, my middle daughter Peyton, who is 11, and my youngest son Brock, who is 9. So sometimes people ask me the question, how many kids do you have? Some days I have to say 4 because Brock counts as 2.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot of kids that you have to manage on this hockey team too. No comment, right?
Not right now.
Okay. All right, we're just going to jump into this interview. Maddie thought it'd be great to do an interview with Coach here. More of a get to know you about Larry Barron and his background, where he came from, what his goals and vision are for the team and the players, and also share a little bit with you about his upbringing and how he got into hockey. So first question I have for you, Coach, is where did you grow up and when did you start your journey in hockey and how did that happen?
Well, I grew up in Canada, or in Toronto, Canada, just outside a town called Brampton. And when we talk about being a Canadian, I remember the sport as long as I can remember, where my dad introduced it to me. I was the youngest of 4 boys. So with that being said, there was a rough and tumble household, and my skates were always rough and tumble because they were always hand-me-downs. Loved ya, Dad. Love you, Mom. But I get it. So, but just looking at that, it's just, I do remember literally skating on a 6x6 frozen puddle in my backyard because you couldn't really call it a pond. It wasn't big enough. And honestly remember my earliest visions of just standing on it with one of my older brothers holding on to me and skating in a really small circle, I guess you could say. So that's where the journey really started, is just the culture of being a part of a hockey family.
And in your parents' defense, feeding 4 boys, they must have had about 4 or 5 jobs themselves, right?
Yeah, I cannot thank my parents enough. From my household, my dad, was a blue collar truck driver, and my mom, worked the afternoon shifts in her job, and everything they did was for us. Every day, every moment, forever grateful as far as their efforts of just being simply hard workers. And sacrificing so much of what they gave up from themselves to make sure they provided for 4 obnoxious boys. So
that's a great story to share, and it really rings home how important you've always mentioned your family is, and I would say that's probably your most important job. I know it's my most important job.
Absolutely.
Okay, second question I have for Coach is, what brought you to Southern California?
It's a great question, and you know, when I obviously was chasing my dream of hockey and going through the ranks and whatnot, you know, during those years of summer, I would go help and get involved with hockey camps in schools and get into it and when my career ended. And it wasn't like I was going to play in the National Hockey League or any high level. I always tell people, I just wasn't good enough. And those years of helping also got me to a point where I was able to give back and start my own dream of teaching. And I started pretty early and was running my own programs by the time I was 18, 19 years old. And really my career ended at the end of my last junior year where I was aging out. But I had a pretty substantial injury where it opened up my eyes that, you know, I'm going to get into teaching full time. And through that, to answer your question, I was running some programs, and a gentleman by the name of Rocco Grimaldi, who's part of the Nashville Predators organization, he's actually a Southern California player, and he actually came to Toronto one summer back in the 90s, and at that time he was actually 6 years old. And at 6 years old, he was a phenom. And I remember vividly, just like, this kid is pretty special. I know he's 6 and whatever, but he just was, you could tell, like, you know, he's a fiery young kid and so on and so forth. And through that, they really enjoyed the experience and went back. And by the next summer, there was over a dozen families that came to Toronto to the program that I was involved with. And that's where we just, you know, you start networking, you start relationships. And they actually invited me out one winter, cold winter in Toronto. And the first time I ever stepped foot on California soil was December 26th, which we in Canada call Boxing Day. And I remember going to the airport that day, catching the cheapest flight you could, which was the old 6 a.m. But in December, you have wind chills that could...
How old were you at this time?
Oh, I think I was about 22, so 21, 22 at that time, and still trying to find my way. And I remember through that trip of leaving minus 35 degrees, getting to the airport, and through all that, fast forwarding, I remember the stewardess saying, we've landed at John Wayne Airport and the weather is 77 degrees and it's sunny out. And I'm like, hold on, what did he say? And then looking outside, and then I remember stepping foot and I was in awe. And they strategically picked me up in a convertible. They strategically drove me to Laguna Beach. And I was like, this is it. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to teach the game. So long and the short of it, a couple of years later, I actually left the nest and made the move. And that's where the journey started when it comes to answering your question of what brought me to California. But it was Rocco Grimaldi and another gentleman of Chase Ballacy, two California kids.
Awesome. I just want to mention something that Coach shared at the beginning was, his desire to give back. I think that's so important for our youth and our adults to constantly give back. It's something that I speak about with my kids all the time. Yes, you have to earn a paycheck to survive, but the ability to give back is very rewarding.
Very much so, and there's just an underlining feeling of gratitude when you do that. And you're right. Like, again, it's what I do for work and whatnot, but the unknowns of watching a kid with a smile on his face, or just some of the things you go through to watch people grow, and whether, no matter what age, is getting them to aspire. And then there's days like talking about JSerra that we have tough days. We have some tough love. But at the end of the day, we get to that goal. There's sometimes no words to express it, to see them come together and just the bigger picture all fall into place.
I've been fortunate enough to witness some of that coming together, and you can see the excitement in the boys, or young adults, I should say, and the one young lady we have on our team, and just it's an incredible experience to watch. So question number 3, share with us how long you've been an NHL coach and how you became one and what your day looks like during the NHL season.
Yeah, and to go back to that, 2013 is when I started my journey being a part of a National Hockey League team, and blessed that it was our hometown team, and I was hired as a skating consultant, and by this time, obviously, I was established with Barron hockey and established with a reputation when it came to developing skating, and had a pretty good stable of players under my wing, and a gentleman, Todd Marchand, is the one who actually recognized what I did, and he played on the 2007 Stanley Cup team, and obviously I looked up to just having that opportunity and him recognize me. So started there, and from there it was more of a summer or summer gig when the prospects came in after they got drafted. And then I would go about my business, and then it just evolved into, hey, Larry, are you around to potentially skate with some of the injured guys? And that's where things started evolving, where, outside of the GM being the boss, the players are the boss. And I say that because if the players simply don't like what you're doing and don't like your message, you're not going to last very long. And I'm forever grateful for the original Nate Thompson, who played for the Ducks, and this is when the Ducks were going on their runs and preparing to try to win a Stanley Cup, and he's the one that really started building the credibility, as far as in the locker room. And a really funny quick story is that the first time he saw me on the ice, I was working with some prospects. He looked at some of the other NHL veterans, goes, "I'm not working with that guy. I'm like, no way. That guy is like, he's loud. Not a chance." And then you step on the ice, and here you go. I'm looking at him. I'm still really nervous, no credibility, no relationship, and he's giving me the up down. I'm like, oh, here we go. And then you just, and even for myself, I didn't know if I was good at this. I didn't know if I was going to survive. This could go really south real quick. And just like I teach our boys or our team in the room is be humble, be modest, be yourself, speak with sincerity, don't pretend that you know it all or have all the answers, and don't be inferior of your own deficiencies, that maybe, my message isn't what they want to hear in that moment, and letting that guard down. So long story short, that's where it started, and it's evolved into 2015, be getting a full-time contract, a full-time employee, and being in there every day. And to answer, your second part is, my day would start of going in, depending on where we are during the year, but getting on the ice with some of these guys before practice, and working on some skill sets, and everything we do is making an adjustment from the last game. Like, we need more work on the walls. We need to get off the walls quicker. We need to get to the work zones faster. We need to springboard and be covered. So the little intangibles of information of what the identity of the team is in the moment, and then how can we get better at that? Situations like that. So.
Okay, next question I have is, JSerra having an active professional sports coach may be a first. I don't know. I haven't researched it. How did this opportunity present itself to you and your family? I say family because I've been able to witness how dedicated you are to the JSerra players and that, along with your NHL Ducks coaching job, takes away time from your family.
Yeah, well, just to go back to your first part of your question, I will share with you guys just again I had my first coaches meeting this morning here at JSerra at bright and early, 7 a.m. I don't know, Chris, I love you to death. Well, that's early, but I guess, these coaches also, some of them teach and have to get to class, but it was good. But long story short is I was surrounded by some amazing people in that room, men, women, that I feel of the compliment you said is just, again, they're passionate at what they do. And you can hear how genuine they are when they talk about their fields and their sports and the accomplishments and some of the things that they feel need to get better. So I'm blessed to be a part of that. So I never want to say a professional coach. They're all amazing at what they do, and I think we're all on the same page as far as doing what we do best, and those are the particulars of coaching. And I'll move on to the second part. Like, it's balance. It's hard. There's days that it's hard when you look at, you take your family, when it comes to my wife and my kids, and then you got to take that off, and then you go to your other family. And that's how I feel. That when I look at JSerra and this group is these kids are my family, and to sort it out through being a part of the good times and sorting it out when we're trying to figure out how we need to get better, and the debates, and sometimes the tension, and sometimes the resentment, and sometimes the misunderstanding. It's all a process that you truly embrace in the moment, and I truly love that challenge. And then you take that hat off again, and then you got to put your other hat on, and sometimes it's hard to not bring the emotion, back to the house from a loss, and then the real boss in the house lets you know real quick, you better change your tune, and hockey is over right now. Embrace and so it's a team. It really is.
What you mentioned there with your wife sounds very similar to some of your coaching philosophies also. So it sounds like a good mix.
Yeah. I think my kryptonite with a lot of it is something I've always said it, and I believe in, is that ego and emotion can cloud perspective. Absolutely. And I'm only going to talk about the emotion is, when you bring emotion outside the brick and mortar of the rink, and you bring emotion home with you, you forget perspective sometimes of putting your father hat on, putting your husband hat on, and whether I go internal and I go quiet, or whether I have a short fuse, and just it is something when we talk. I'll use to answer your question. It's balance. You got to balance. You got to balance it all. So.
Absolutely. All right. Next question. After one season as the head coaching position with JSerra, you had some incredible successes along with some challenges. Our JV squad ended up as the 2021-2022 Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League champions, which I believe might be a first for the JV team. No, have they won it before? I don't know, but I think it is. Well, the varsity team struggled. Coming into a new program, you obviously had to establish your vision for the team. Getting buy-in from the players can be a challenge in itself, with teaching new systems, enforcing accountability, and promoting a team environment. So what was the biggest challenge for you as the new head coach?
Obviously, coming in is just, we talked about it earlier, is new face, credibility. Looking at a group that our program barely had a heartbeat when I took this over, and a lot of this was a lot of unknowns, and And I remember like yesterday where, you know, one of our first meetings is the players are sitting under their stalls or in their stalls, and they'd have a question. I'd have to look up at the nameplate to put faces to names. Okay, yeah, we've heard about Larry Barron. Okay, he's got this resume, but that doesn't means nothing to me, because where are we going with this? So looking at where we were, and a culture that I felt that just needed to be energized. That's what I wanted to bring to the table, and honestly, it was a challenge every day, in the sense of what is a vision, what is buy-in. So whatever the message was, I would ask the question a lot, and Maddie can attest to this, is what do you want from this? And because it wasn't about me, it was about us. It's about us. It's not about me. So, but what do we want from this? Do we want to pursue having success? Because if we do, there has to be sacrifice. There has to be a discipline to wanting to do things the right way. And you know, what I felt was the right way is that's the buy-in. You may have an opinion or whatnot, and then through all that, we chipped away, and the uniqueness of our rosters, you could start seeing the buy-in. And for me, what I'm most satisfied with is the fact that there were inferior attitudes. There were attitudes of being, I wouldn't say rebellious, but just a wall that you make them a better person. And I won't mention names, but there was definitely some personalities in there that were a little rogue, where it was about them. It was about, what they thought. And then at the end of it, it was a complete buy-in to the bigger picture of team first, of sacrificing what I think for the better of my line, my team, the message, the adjustment. So which was really pretty special, and why I missed coaching so much. And I just want to make sure I don't miss, your points. And going into winning a JV championship was fantastic, and hats off to that feeling. And I do want to talk about the word struggled. Like, we look at the varsity group. When we talk about the word struggle, we maybe have struggled when we look at maybe results, but we didn't struggle when it came to where we started to where we got to the mindsets of a senior player, understanding that this is their last go around, to looking at, your sophomores and juniors in the sense of, I would say having some success of learning the game. So we struggled with results, but at the end of the day, we played our best hockey in our last game. And hats off to everyone that stepped up and identified what was needed. We ran into a really good goalie with St. Mary's, and no discredit to their team or their players. I truly feel we were the better team on the ice. We just didn't get the result, and the credibility that was a state championship team, and that's where I'll say, like, we finished on such a high note. So it was pretty impressive. Yeah,
I want to add, struggle may not have been a good word, because I did witness the growth of the players, and you were very candid with the parents that this season was going to be about player development and not to pay attention to the win column. And I noticed a significant difference of the player development. The great coach, UCLA coach, basketball coach John Wooden, he was notorious for his one-liners, and there was always one that I held on to, because I'm a daddy coach, you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. And he said, the strength of the individual is in the team. The strength of the team is in the individual. When you talk about player accountability, that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, and what you just said in 10 seconds, it took me 5 minutes to say, but that's it. And that's where I truly am just so elated of where we started the start of the year to where we finished. It just was that. It really was, to sum it up. So maybe I need to start reading some more John Wooden quotes.
Okay. Our next question. What is the vision for the 2022-2023 season, and what are your expectations for the players?
Expectations are to be better than what we were last year. Expectations are that now the uniqueness of having returning players, and that they know where I stand when it comes to the messaging, and we know when we walk into the locker room that there is an expectation where I don't have to go through those weeks of making that change. They know. So we should be, for me, off to the races when it comes to our culture. And just like we had our freshman skate this past Tuesday, May 3rd, is my expectations, accountability of my returning players that were on that ice that night is lead. Be a leader. And I don't mean lead not just being in front of the line, but lead by your body language. Lead by embracing these players that know nothing about our program. Lead by your body language, that the parents that are in the stands, they're looking down at that ice and go, you can tell who's played for Larry and you can tell who hasn't. So expectations are, that's where we're going to start, is our mindset is, again, we're going to have a winning mindset. And winning to be a great person, have a great personality, to represent ourselves well, and then from there, the winning of hopefully, and we will get better results this year as our teams continue to grow and we mold into championship teams and get to a point to win a national championship.
Excellent. All right. Let's go over some fun questions now. Who was your favorite team growing up? I think I know the answer to this based from where you grew up, but
I hated the Leafs.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't stand the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It has to be Canadians then.
No. A funny story, I'm a huge Leafs fan now because I really dislike the Leafs. But one of my best friends coaches them now. So I'm bleeding blue. No knock against the team that employs me, but I'm bleeding blue right now against the Tampa Bay Lightning because I grew up with one of my best friends who's now leading the charge of trying to change that organization in the sense of getting this 55-year-old gorilla off their back of winning a Stanley Cup. So it was the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh my goodness, that's my number 2 team. Kings have always. I've been a lifelong Kings fan. My uncle used to have season seats back in the days of the Triple Crown line. You know, Charlie Simmer, Dave Taylor, and Marcel Dion, and I just grew up going. I don't know. I tell Maddie this all the time. I've probably seen 600 Kings games at the Forum. It was a great experience, and always the best games. There was this rivalry, I felt anyways, between the Kings and the Red Wings.
Yeah, and the Red Wings is I learned what AM radio was. Actually, I learned what static AM radio was when I was a young age because being the youngest of 4 boys, my dad would listen to the Red Wing games in the car coming back from a junior hockey game that my oldest, and I'm like, what are you listening? Like, you can barely hear it. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and there's the diehard Detroit Red Wing fan, and that's where I started, like, okay, I'm trying my best to listen, and then because my dad was a Red Wing fan, I sort of, embraced it, and then my idol growing up was Steve Yzerman.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a great player, great leader for sure.
Yeah, always maybe in the shadows of Gretter and Mario, but he was arguably, to me, back then in the 80s, the third best player in the world. So
you must have a ton of respect and admiration then for Scotty Bowman.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a mastermind genius. He was ahead of the time when it came to doing what he did, and I only could appreciate him as the Red Wings coach. And I know he, coached many teams in many years before that in St. Louis and whatnot, but that's where I really respected what he did to change, like Steve Yzerman changed his game of not just being an offensive threat, but playing on both sides of the puck for a team first. And that's how you win championships.
Absolutely, grinding all the way.
Yeah, so that's where it came from.
Okay, so I saw this interview with Tom Brady one time, and it was, I think, pre-Super Bowl, and this kid was on his dad's shoulder, and he was able to ask Tom Brady a question. So I wanted to ask you a similar question. And many kids and young adults look up to their favorite professional athlete or someone that inspires them. Who is someone that inspires you? Doesn't need to be a professional athlete, and why?
I'm going to say this, and I touched on it. I would say my mom and dad, really, and I really, outside of, having a professional athlete, someone to look up like Stevie, but it was exactly what I said earlier, just the sacrifices that mom and dad made to get us to where we needed to be and to play the sport that I fell in love with. So it was pretty much that is where the work ethic comes from, and the humbleness, I guess you can say. But I would say my mom and dad. So
that is awesome to hear. Okay, what number did you wear growing up, and why did you select that number?
19.
Steve Yzerman.
No, well, I always wanted 19. I always wasn't never good enough to get it. So usually I had to get the leftovers when it came to numbers. No, it's 19 was my favorite number. I wore a number. I did actually wear 19 in my first year junior, and then I'm just trying to think through that. I ended up wearing 44 my last year. Simply, I was a defenseman, and then I gave up 19 to basically he wasn't. He was younger, just a forward who wanted it, and I was at the point where, like, absolutely, if it's going to help us get this player, I'll give him his number. It was actually a recruiting tool. So when I gave up as a 20-year-old. My number and gave it to him to make sure, he was comfortable, and away we went. So
hopefully you got a 12-pack of Labatt's or something with that, right? Is that how you say it?
Labatt's blue.
Yeah.
Nothing against Labatt. It's terrible. I'm a Molson Canadian guy.
Okay, Molson, there you go.
Yeah. So anyways.
All right. Since you mentioned it at the end of our team party, your late nights, thinking about the hockey team, JSerra hockey team, what is your favorite cereal?
Sugary.
So anything sweet?
Yeah. That's another one. Well, I always liked. I think they're Sugar Crisps. I think that's the Canadian version of the Honey Smacks.
Yeah.
Right. So Honey Smacks is U.S. and it just was always good, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch was always delicious with the 70 grams of sugar per bowl. But right now, my late night snack is the Red Berry Kellogg's cereal. So
I'll have to check that one out.
yeah, and I got my secret stash that my kids don't know about. But that's I would say that's it right now.
Okay, so this one I'm going to put you on the spot here, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but who's been your favorite NHL player to work with?
Ryan Getzlaf. And I think that rolls off my tongue is as I've worked with him since day one, and he's embraced me from day one, and we have a pretty good relationship where I call him really old right now, and he calls me really short. So,
Well,
but
he's old in, I guess, professional athlete term, right?
yeah, he's old, but but really, and the reason I say that is he's never cheated me when it comes to, he doesn't cheat drills, he doesn't cheat concepts, and there's never been an ego with him, never been a resistance. It's you ask him what to do and he does it. And honestly, what's amazing is, I know he's the captain and was the captain of the Ducks, still is in my mind, until they announce a new one, is he would have my back, that if I was creating something as far as a habit on the ice, don't turn your back to the puck. And guys would do it, or and I would repeat it, guys, let's open up, blah, 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 that he would support it and go, did you hear what he said, guys? Like, let's open up. And it just, so there's just little things you captivate through the years of someone that supported you. So he truly was. And don't get me wrong, every guy I've worked with, they are amazing people. And that's, being blessed of having the experience that I had and have at this level. Is I just share this with the parents at the freshmen, is like, they're just really good people that treat you with the utmost respect, even on their bad days, even after 5-game losing streak. And I hate to say that, it's like there's always just time for you. And that's when you look at these kids, and I'll say there's levels just below that these individuals haven't figured that out yet. It starts with your attitude. It starts with how you see things and how you treat people and how you look people in the eye, and that's where it starts, and why they're one of 700 people in the world to do what they do best, and that's play hockey. And it starts there. But yeah, I'll say, I hate to say, but it was Getsy. So
that's awesome to hear. Okay, last question, and then we'll wrap it up. What message do you want to send to the team and also to the students, maybe the parents and the staff at JSerra?
I just want to say that hockey is on the map. When it comes to JSerra, hockey is now on the athletic side of department here, and I want to build our own dynasty when it comes to memories, and it comes to achievements and accolades, when it comes to individual, to team, to filling our trophy case, simply by instilling the vision and culture that I believe in, of what I just talked about, being a good person, that starts as far as the grassroots, the building what is needed to get the job done when it comes to winning a championship. So just be ready. I want everyone to get excited, to embrace the hockey side of things, to embrace the players around the school, to get out and support this game. And to me, it's such an amazing sport to watch live, and for all of us, is let's simply get after it, as I always say. So
excellent. All right. Want to thank Coach Larry Barron. Want to thank Matty Fuentes here for setting this up. We appreciate your time, Coach. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.